Welcome, warriors. What you are about to hear is a story of stuffing, silence, survival, and the color pink. Grab a tissue and get ready to go on a journey of hope and healing with our guest, Michelle Visccuse. Let's rock. Does your past haunt you? Maybe you're in a storm that feels like it will never end. Are you fighting a battle that's rendering you hopeless? Maybe you feel like you're fighting alone, but your battle was not meant to be a solo endeavor. You were meant to be a warrior among warriors. My name is Heather, and I grew up thinking my battles were nobody's business until I found myself in an abusive marriage and felt cut off from all avenues of help. In this podcast, you will hear warriors' words. They will tell you of their battles, both won and lost, their journeys, and their lessons learned along the way. But we don't stop there. These warriors will share how they have applied those lessons to go from warrior to survivor to thriver. Whether it's an abusive marriage, illness, mental health crisis, or any number of traumas this world dishes out, these warriors will use their words to help you find the beauty in your broken, move beyond your battles, and become the thriver God created you to be. Pick up your sword or boxing gloves and join the battle. Your words are powerful, my friends. Make them warrior words. Welcome back to the Warrior Words podcast. We have a fantastic story for you today from Michelle Visccuse. Michelle is the founder of Journey Pink, a ministry dedicated to helping women and teens who have experienced the trauma of sexual abuse to find courage, hope, and freedom in Jesus. She has her MA in pastoral counseling with an emphasis in crisis response and trauma and an advanced certificate in Christian life coaching. Journey Pink, the story of a princess in need of a king, is her memoir of healing from childhood sexual abuse. She is also the author of The Garden, a short story featured in Blessings in Disguise from 2019. She is a speaker at conferences and retreats. Michelle and her husband Anthony live in North Carolina with their 3 kids and a sweet beagle named Maisie Jane. To find out more, please visit her at journeypink.com. Before hearing Michelle's journey, here is a review from AMJ0616. And she writes, very inspiring episodes that are a must listen if you are currently going through a big thing on healing or the trauma after. Thankful for the work that Heather is doing in the world. Thank you, AMJ. I am grateful to hear that these episodes are inspiring, as that is one of my goals. Would you like me to read your review on an upcoming episode? Please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review for the show. Your comments and your star ratings help people find the Warrior Words podcast. It only takes a few minutes of your time, and it would help so much. And now you can become a Warrior Words insider for all the latest news at subscribepage.io/pearls of wisdom. And that link will be in the show notes. Now, on to the show. Hi, everyone. As you heard in the intro, we are blessed to have Michelle Visccuse here with us today. Thank you for joining us, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Heather. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to our conversation. And for when we do get this on YouTube, you will notice that we are both decked out in pink today. And There's a very good reason for that. And Michelle will get to it as we get further into the conversation. But Michelle, if you could start out by sharing a little bit of your story with us, what your trauma was and kind of how you got here today.
So I was sexually abused throughout my childhood, and I never told anyone. I kept the secrets, and it lasted for most of my childhood up until college. And my abuser was my dad, and I never said anything to anyone. I never told anyone. And then right around the time I was 38 or so, I'd already had 3 kids. I'd been married for 13 years. And at that point, things started to get really difficult for me in my life. I was suffering from flashbacks and panic attacks. I had major anxiety, bad dreams, night terrors, you name it. It was just really, really hard.
Hmm.
And I decided at that point that I needed help. And so my thoughts were that I would just go see a counselor and have her fix me really quick. And I was never going to tell anyone my story. I never
Mm.
wanted anyone to know. And that is not how it ended up working out. So,
Yeah,
you know,
usually doesn't.
no, not at all. But a lot has changed. And I am so thankful for stepping into that counselor's office and beginning my healing journey so that I could get my voice back and,
Mm, yes,
recover from years and years of shame and guilt that I carried that really, was never mine to carry. So,
right, right.
yeah. So in that, one of the big things that happened was I did end up telling my husband, who had no idea. And I also told some family members, and then I confronted my abuser with my
Oh.
husband. So that was 11 years ago in May.
So did you when you made the decision to walk into that counselor's office for the quick fix,
Hmm.
did you know that the childhood sexual abuse was the reason for all of these symptoms, or did you just want to just fix the symptoms and move on?
It was mostly fix the symptoms and move on. I did not have a concept in my mind that it was abuse. In my mind, I was just thinking there's something wrong with me. I am bad. And
Mm, yes.
I remember saying to her that I have a job and I appear to be confident, but I'm not. I am very, very much insecure, and I don't think that people like me. And I also think that I'm a burden to others. That was one of the things I said to her. I said, I feel like I'm a burden to others. And so I would wall up my heart and not let people get close to me. Um, Everyone, even my
Hmm.
family didn't know the real me or what I was going through. And so it took a minute, like two or three sessions to get to the root. I think in that first encounter, I may have maybe said to her that my dad hurt me or something like that, but I didn't go into detail. And
Okay.
I didn't say what. And I just kind of sandwiched it in between some other things. That was not what I wanted to talk about, obviously, but it was what I needed to talk about. And
Right.
so probably by the third session, I went in and said, here's some things. But even then, it was a process to get it out, and it was a
Hmm.
process to understand that what happened was a crime. And I
Yes, it was.
wasn't
Hmm.
guilty and I wasn't, at fault for that. And I didn't do anything to cause it. So all of the things that I lived with in my mind were not true. And counseling helped to bring out those lies and replace them with truth.
Yes. And I think I want to thank you because I think you said something very important that a lot of people don't either don't want to admit or don't know enough to admit. And that is your feelings of you feeling bad and you feeling like people don't like you and you feeling just all of those feelings are feelings that I think a lot of people have, whatever whatever their trauma is, because I think that those are symptoms of multiple traumas.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people aren't able to voice them or don't feel like they're able to voice them.
Right.
And so I thank you for voicing that for yourself and for anyone listening who may be feeling that. So thank you,
You're
Michelle.
welcome. And of course, I mean, on the outside of the counselor's office at that time, I would appear confident. I would appear fine. But when I was able to finally sit in a safe space and say, here's the deal, this is how I really feel, I was
Mhm.
able to share with her like how difficult it was for me and how much I struggled with self-worth and shame, oh, the heaviness of shame. I could feel it. I told her it feels like it pours over me like thick, warm glue, honey, like that thick,
Mm,
gooey shame.
yes.
Like when something happened, I could just feel it pour over me from head to toe. And it's an awful, awful feeling.
Yeah. And thank you for giving
Awful.
yes, thank you for giving us that sensation. I was talking with a recent guest about how important our senses are
Hmm.
and how they really give us clues, cues, even to what's going on. So that was a great visual. So okay.
Thanks.
All right. So I have I've been able to read parts of your book, and we will get into the book. I know I just said something that maybe a not a flashback, but a what's the beginning one preview.
Hmm.
But I've been able to read, and I remember you talking about the counselor's office and colors,
Yes.
and so I mentioned in the beginning about the color pink. So, but can you tell us about the first color that
Yes.
that you talked to your counselor about?
So that thick, warm glue that I described as shame, I told her I didn't know how to tell her I felt shame. I did not realize it was shame.
Hmm.
So when I went in, I just told her I feel green. Like I feel this awful, ugly, not my birthstone is emerald. And so there's a pretty green out there.
Yes.
You know, there's great greens out there. No, nothing against greens. But I said, this is like a really awful green, like a naughty texture green crayon that's stuck in the box that no one wants to use. I said, that's what I feel like. And it took me a while to unravel that and recognize that what I'm describing is truly shame. But for me, a lot of the healing was using colors. And so the green represented shame, and there were times where we might be, describing a memory and I didn't have words. I just didn't have words. And she was like, well, what color do you see? And I would describe orange or red or whatever the color
Hmm.
was. And that color was associated with that memory deeply. But that's how we started. That's how we would pull out that memory. And so pink is the best color ever. It was not my favorite color prior to any of this, but pink ended up representing to me, and it stands for PINK, Princess in Need of a King, because I recognized my value as a daughter of the king and as a princess. And because he was a good father, he was my king and
Hmm.
I needed
Yes.
him. And
Hmm.
so, like, a lot of what I thought about God was distorted because I didn't have like a true concept of a caring, protective, loving um, father. And that's what God is. And so, pink was important for me to see and remember because I was constantly fighting green. When you're dealing with the healing journey and you're opening up the boxes and the memories are coming out, the shame is big. And
Yes.
so I wore pink. I had a pink watch, pink shirt, I have on a pink shirt now, but I had pink pocketbook, pink wallet. Everything was pink. And every time I saw pink, it reminded me that is not my shame. I am the daughter of a king. I am a princess. And being his daughter makes me a princess, not what happened to me. That doesn't define me. And so pink just became my signature reminder of God's love for me and for my value and worth as his daughter.
Oh, that's beautiful. Uh,
Thank you.
I mean, I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and everybody told me, pink sisters and sister power and pink power, and I wasn't into it. It wasn't my favorite color either. And now that I hear you define it as princess in need of a king, and I love the color pink.
Hmm. Yes.
It's just such a much more beautiful representation, and to
Right.
see the colors are so different. Green, even the good greens, and pink they're so very, very different. And so it helps you to really differentiate between those feelings and those memories. And Yeah. I think it's a simple yet powerful representation that people can use. And I hope somebody listening, I hope it resonates with you that's something that you can use in your journey as well.
Yes,
And
especially to replace those old patterns, those old thoughts. Um, so when you start to feel a certain way and you know that that's not the truth, that you have something over here that says, no, remember, this is truth. We're not, because I swam in that, trauma toxicity for so long
mhm,
that it was hard to keep my mind over here, especially with, stuff popping up and going through all the boxes and
yes,
dealing with um, the past. And so, but even today, it's a powerful reminder to me. Like I will never forget the power of pink. And the first time I think it really happened for me was seeing a pink sunset. And I remember thinking, wow, God really loves me. He put that pink sunset in the sky just for me. And I started chasing sunsets and wanting to see them all the time. And one time my husband was like, pink sunsets are not new. They've been here every evening for a long time. And I was like, really? I've never seen them. And that's how much trauma can take from your life, that
yes,
you are so much trying to survive and make it to the next day that I missed a sunset. I don't recall seeing a pretty sunset until I turned 38 years old. And at the same time, I would go on nature walks and stop and listen to birds, look at flowers, take pictures of the flowers. And it was like a whole new world of color, a whole new world of sound was opening up for me. And it was because that other stuff that was holding me back, I was letting go of that and finding healing.
that
It's,
is, yeah, that is so powerful. You are the second person that I've spoken to that has told me that they've gone from their trauma to their survival and or thriving part of their life and having almost their vision completely change, like the
yes,
darkness removed and the brightness come forth.
yes.
And I that is just it's just an amazing transformation, and I love that. So you mentioned surviving, and you also mentioned unpacking all those boxes. So that by the ages you gave me, so we're looking at about 30 years of boxes,
But
right? Is that
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
lot that you kept packed away and stashed away from other people to see. So how was that journey of survival for you? How did that move forward?
Well, I mentioned with the counselor that I told her I needed to get well as soon as possible and that I never wanted to share anything that I was about to tell her with anyone else in the world, including my husband or family. I just wanted to get well and get out. And she was like, okay, well, we're going to take it slow. And I remember when she told me this could take up to 3 years. So the abuse lasted until I was probably 21 or so. So about 20
Okay,
years of
about
actual
20 years.
abuse,
Okay. Mhm.
but then also like silence thereafter. I never said anything. So I was still dealing with all of that internally until I turned 38. I didn't have really another person to walk with me through that. And so it was helpful to take it in pieces. Like I went in thinking, we're going to just get this fixed. I'm here to get fixed and then I'm going to leave. And thankfully she didn't tell me in that visit it's going to take this long, but it honestly took at least 3.5 years, weekly visits, some group therapy sessions. And then even now I'm still on like maintenance schedule. So if something comes up and I'm struggling, I still reach out to not the same counselor because she moved away, but a new counselor that I'm working with. And it is so helpful. Like I am so thankful and I need it. Like
Mhm.
there's still things that come up. There's still pieces. And I want to have it affects your mind, your body, and your spirit,
Yes.
all of it.
Mhm.
And so when I'm recognizing that there's something wrong there, like it needs to be tweaked again, or there's something deeper, then I want to do what I can to get that, fixed and work through that. And so counseling has just been really a good thing for me. And in both counselors have been fantastic to work with. I know not everyone has a great experience, but I would tell you to keep trying to find someone that works for you, that's safe,
Mhm.
that makes you
Right.
feel safe. I think safety is the biggest need. But yeah, so having all of those boxes gently unpacked in a safe environment, now I don't have to carry the weight of that. And I don't have the anxiety that I had before. I don't have the fears and the struggles that I had before. I can sleep better at night. I don't have the nightmares. I mean, I had specific nightmares that I had had throughout my entire life that stopped finally. So
Praise
it's
God.
just worth
Yes.
it. Whatever it is that you need to do it, because it's not worth it carrying that and packing that stuff away. It wreaks so much havoc.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah. And while healing is not easy, nor is stuffing, stuffing is terrible. I mean, stuffing is really hard. So,
A lot of secrets to keep and things
yes,
to keep track of. And yes,
right,
so yes, it piles more hard on top of the hard it already is.
right.
So that's a great point. So, and the other thing is, I like that you gave us permission to continue to seek counseling, whether it's for maintenance or whether it's, weekly check-ins. And I think that's a lot of why I try to talk about surviving and thriving as opposed to
Yes,
survived and
yes,
healed. And
yes,
because a lot of it is ongoing.
it is.
It's
I had a
ongoing.
session last Thursday. It is ongoing. And, when I got out of that session, I felt so much lighter. I felt so much better. We addressed something that had never come up before. And I was so thankful because I don't want to hold on to that stuff anymore. I don't want to, sit on that box and try to protect it. It's got to come out for me to breathe and have,
Yes.
a chance at healing. But I do think that it's lifelong. I don't
Mhm.
know that we arrive, but we certainly live a better life. And I think we provide a better legacy for our family and our children.
Yes, you do.
And that's so important to give them, the hope that you don't have to stay in circumstances. You don't have to stay in that situation.
No, you don't. No, that is very
And
freeing.
you don't have to be ashamed. It's not your
Exactly.
shame. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for that. And so all of this, and I've mentioned the word a couple of times, is a journey.
Hmm.
And I specifically used that word because your book is titled Journey Pink. And so
Yes.
we've talked about pink and we've talked about your journey. And so your book is one of the ways that you're thriving today. Can you tell us about your book? And then I know you have a couple other ways of thriving as well. So if you would like to share those, because one of the things that I've noticed is that there's so many ways. Just
Right.
like there's so many traumas, there's so many ways to thrive and help others after you have worked through parts of your trauma and you're in surviving mode as opposed to the trauma mode. So I love that you have multiple ways. So if you could share those with us, that would be great.
Yes. So the book is Journey Pink, and I have a little cover here. And the chair represents being in the counselor's office and doing the hard work and sitting in the chair that I dreaded, but also desperately needed. And
Yes.
then the crown represents the princess. So this is my story, but I wanted that chair to represent hope for others who were looking to find healing, that sit in the chair, do the hard work, and reclaim that crown, like wear that crown, because you
Yes.
are a princess. And um, when I first started my journey, I could not understand how to go from hiding secrets and never telling a soul to what does healing look like, and how do you ever spit out those words if you've never said it?
Right.
And that's why I wanted to write the book, to show that healing is possible This is my journey. Yours may not look like that. Your trauma may not look like that, but God is with us every step of the way, and He will lead and guide and direct us
Mhm.
on the path of healing. But we just have to be willing to go there. And I had
Yes.
to open up my heart to let Him into those dark places because I had always, like, I was always in church, I served in church, but I lived and served in a way that was like that part of me off limits. And we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's off, God. We're just going to do, I'm going to do for you over here whatever you need, but we're not going to go there. And so a big part of the book was showing how I had to let Him into those spaces and
Mm.
and sit with Him there. And that's where I found the majority of my healing. And in addition to writing the book, I am now using my voice as much as possible. I'll speak at different
Mhm.
types of engagements, whether it's a conference or a retreat or just a dinner. I've gone to people's homes and talked to like 10 ladies before. I went to a conference recently that was geared towards people who work with children, and it was for the state of North Carolina. So that was a wonderful opportunity. But anything that I can do to shine the light on abuse and to give hope for healing, and then also to give words of wisdom on prevention, because
Yes.
it would be just great if this didn't have to happen to kids. And so, what can we look for? What can we be aware of? So, anything that I can do to help with preventing it and pointing people to healing, that's what I want to do. So, I also started a podcast with a friend, and she has a similar story, and we're sharing our story each week on that podcast. And I blog a little bit, so a little bit of everything. But I definitely have found that what I did not want to talk about is all I want to talk about now. And I work,
What a transformation.
it's huge.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
would much rather be talking about that and helping others find healing.
Awesome. Okay. And that podcast is Conversations of Hope, and I'll make sure I get a link to that in
Yes.
the show notes as well. So as we wrap up, can you share with our listeners? I think you had a free gift that you wanted to offer them, and then if you could tell them where they can find you.
Yes. So my website is journeypink.com, journey, pink.com. So just journeypink.com. And on the website, I have two freebies that I give away. One is, was it really sexual abuse? Because I think sometimes we try to minimize what happened to us and we think, was it really sexual abuse? And so this goes through the process of helping you understand like grooming and all of the tactics that lead to sexual abuse. And then the other is a declarations of freedom. Is healing from sexual abuse possible? Absolutely. And here's some truths and some declarations of freedom that you can use to start that journey of healing and finding hope and freedom. Um, I was thinking about it before the podcast. If anyone is interested, I would be happy to send you like the first three chapters of my book so that you can just get an idea of what it's like. So if you're interested in that, you can just go to my website on the contact page and send me a note, and I will be happy to send you the first three chapters
Oh,
so that you can get an idea of the book.
that's an excellent gift. Thank you. That's so generous. I appreciate it. So,
You're
okay, so
welcome.
everybody's going to go to journeypink.com and start listening to Conversations of Hope podcast. And I'll also get a link to the book in the show notes as well, so people can pick that up. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Michelle. I appreciate that you shared your story and that you did give us all hope, and you put names and feelings and colors
Yes.
to what a lot of people may be feeling. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you and your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Wow. Michelle has been on quite a journey. She went from stuffing and hiding everything, from being afraid and feeling shame, to realizing and accepting that she was, in fact, a daughter of the king. And that fact makes her and you a princess. She discovered that her Heavenly Father loved her and gave her the tools and the words to unstuff what she had stuffed for about 20 years. She found fatherly love and her voice. Michelle went from feeling like she had to be silent to feeling like she had to use her voice for healing. And while you may not have had the same experiences or journey that Michelle has had, I hope she gave you permission to own your own experiences and seek help. Counseling can be so helpful for all that life throws at us. But Michelle made another good point about keeping trying. If the first counselor doesn't make you feel safe or heard, find another one. It's your mental health, not theirs. So you can keep trying different counselors to get what you need. It is our hope that you feel ownership of your health and that you confidently advocate for yourself. So where can counseling help you? Don't stuff it. Use your voice. Just something to think about this week. Until we meet again, armor up, fight the good fight, seek beauty, and make your words warrior words. God bless.